Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. At the most basic level, spiritual growth is very, very straightforward. To understand true growth, there's some very simple questions. For example, when you eat, sometimes what you eat makes you feel good, healthy, good energy. And sometimes what you eat makes you tired, makes you sick, etc. So I know it's difficult, be like a test that's really hard, an SAT or something like that. Which do you want to eat? That which makes you feel good, healthy, high for a prolonged period of time, energizes you, or that which brings you down, that which gives you a stomach ache, that which makes you sick, that which gives you a temporary rush and then you crash. I hope that you know the answer to that question. You kind of got there by yourself. That yes, maybe ultra spicy tastes good for 5 minutes, but hurts for 20 hours. Okay? It's what you get to see. Maybe sugar, like pure sugar, is a nice immediate lift me up, but it kind of crashes pretty quickly, and you're tired for a long time. Maybe you've noticed these things, all right? Maybe if you're nervous, smoking makes you feel a little bit more balanced. You can express yourself and have some nicotine and whatever it is that comes with a cigarette, but you cough a lot and there's this cancer stuff, and it's sort of like it doesn't seem to be a long-run successful thing to do. So most of you have reached, I'm not picking on if you haven't, but most of you have reached a point where those are no-brainers, right? That you've come to realize that there are certain ways to eat and to take care of your body which works better than other ways. Why don't we just say that? I don't like to use the term right or wrong. I don't think anybody should lay a trip on somebody else's head. I just think that as you grow and become more conscious, even a little bit conscious, you start noticing things. And what you notice is not right or wrong. I don't like talking in terms of right or wrong. You notice it worked or it didn't work. Do you understand that? And so if you're doing that, that's what I want to talk about. What if you do notice that? If you don't notice it, okay, we got some growth to do. But I think most of you notice that, the kind of thing I'm talking about, that there is a difference in how food or how you deal with your body, that how it makes it feel, all right? So let's say you notice it. Then the next really difficult question is, let's say you notice it, what are you supposed to do about it? What is reasonable to do about it? Well, if I notice that one way works and the other way doesn't, this is tough to say, I actually do the way that works and don't do the way that doesn't. Now, how do I do that? So first is, how do I know what works and how do I know what doesn't? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Come on. I'm not saying there aren't certain ones that are on the edge. I'm not talking about those. I want to talk about easy peasy. All right? The ones that it is obvious. It is obvious it's not working so good. All right? Versus the other way, wow, I feel much better. Can we deal with just those? All right, so now we've seen for ourselves what is what Buddha called right action, what will work and what won't work for ourselves. It's a personal thing. We see it for ourselves, about ourselves. Now the question is, are you going to do it? Which one are you going to do? Well, that requires will. The first requires clarity. You can see what's going on. You have eyes to see. But if you see it and you don't do it, what good is that? What good does it do to see this way works and this way doesn't, but then do the way that doesn't work? It doesn't work, by definition. You're not going to do very well, are you? Right? So you reach the point where you realize, and this is spiritual growth. I'm talking about spiritual growth, the foundation of spiritual growth. Not mores and folkways and rights and wrongs and value judgments. I don't care about any of those. I care about you seeing what works for you. Truly. All right? But works based on what? Maybe I should have started a step back. To work or not work, I have to have a judgment system. What am I judging against? What am I trying to say? To me, it's very easy. I'm trying to be high, not drug high. I'm trying to enjoy my life. I'm trying to feel enthused. I want to feel love. I want to feel Shakti, energy, power, passion about everything I do. How about you? How does that sound? That's better than a new car. Which would you rather have, a new car or that all the time? The only reason you want the new car is you think it'll give you that. Well, you're wrong, but we won't talk about that. All right? But at least you start off with the realization that what I want is to feel good in here. How about we just define it that way? I would like to feel good in here instead of not feeling good in here. Can you feel not good in there? Can you feel good in there? Oh, well, you have eyes to see. You got it? It's got nothing to do with the outside. It's got to do, how are you doing in there? You feeling up, feeling high, feeling challenged and enthused and turned on? Or are you feeling depressed, down, sick, low? Which one do you want? Now that one is easy, isn't it? Okay. So now we have the foundation of what we ourselves are trying to achieve. Not what our parents told us to do, not what we're supposed to be doing, not what blah, blah, blah. What we ourselves, within ourselves, have a clear motivation, intent. I intend to enjoy my life. There's nothing wrong with that. You're supposed to enjoy your life. It's a great gift that was given to you. How about me? I intend to enjoy every moment of my life. How about you? How would you like to enjoy every moment of your life? Why not? Okay. And so you start realizing there are certain things at the very base level. We were talking about dealing with your body, dealing with the physical world in your body. There are certain things at the base level, such as eating or smoking or whatever, drinking. They're just things, right? That if you do them, and I'm not talking about how much or what, that's your business. But you have found within yourself that there are things that enhance and work for you being high all the time, good all the time. And there are things that don't work, that maybe for a moment get you up and then you crash. Maybe they don't even get you up for a moment. They just take you down. This is what's going on. You are in there. You live in there. It is either a nice place to live or it's a not nice place to live. Believe it or not, what you do affects whether it's a nice place to live or a not nice place to live. And we started with the base things. Your diet, what do you shower at all? Do you clean your body? Do you anything? It's the basic stuff, all right? And, things like smoking or drinking and so on. Well, what is the effect of this stuff? And drugs in general, right? Hard drugs for sure. It's not hard to see what they do to people, right? They don't look so healthy. Maybe for a while they look really high, all right? But have you noticed it doesn't last very long, right? They get all long in the face and pale and don't want to do anything except drugs, all right? So those fall into the category, not right or wrong, I get in trouble, work and don't work. That's a better category. Does it work for what you're attempting to achieve or does it not, right? Every one of you want to be high. Every one of you want to feel love. Every one of you want to feel joy and enthusiasm and excitement for what you're doing, all right? If that's what you're attempting to achieve, you have to look at what these different actions do. Do they work or not work in terms of bringing you there? Is that reasonable? All right? So now the next step, now that we've got that foundation, it's a strong foundation. What are you looking for, and is what you're doing helping you or hindering you from getting it? Period. All right? So that's called being conscious, a little bit conscious. Now the question becomes, now I see that this doesn't work so good. I thought it would, but it just hasn't worked out so good at all, to say the least. All right? So it's clear to me. It's clear to me that this isn't working, and it's clear to me that this is. So, for example, let's take a little bit harder example. Studying. Back when I went to school, I didn't do it like this, but a lot of people, they studied, 4 hours before the test. Okay? It was called what they call, cramming. And they would stay up all night, really, study 24 hours and cram the thing through and do this thing and then take it and then not work for the rest of the next week until that next test comes. They were not very happy campers. That's that question of up and down and you get worn out. Ever play with it? It burns you out. You get what's called burned out. Why would that not burn you out? And they looked burned out and they acted burned out. And because they burned themselves out in the crash, they had to do extreme things to try and enjoy afterwards. Getting drunk or doing this or partying all the time. Am I stepping on any toes? Anybody understand what I'm talking about? All right. Whereas there are people who pace themselves, who actually set up what I'm going to do on one night and a little thing. And if they don't want to do it, they do it anyways. The same thing with diet. Why is that different than diet? What works and what doesn't work? You come to see it within yourself. Now the question, which is what I really want to talk about, now we have the foundation, is if you see it, are you capable of doing it? Are you capable of applying the will, the discipline, to do what it is that, not discipline. Discipline is like a dirty word. My parents made me do it. The police made me do it. Whatever it is, this authority disciplined me and made me do it. I don't like that any more than you do. Okay? But if you decide for yourself and you see it yourself and you can't do what you see, we got some work to do. Can you understand that? Right? This is your life. If you can't handle what you see and apply the necessary will of intention to carry out what is working for you and not carry out what is not working for you, that is spiritual growth. That is literally the weakness of your inner being. Why would you not do that which works for you? All right? It's the silliest thing in the world. Why would you work against yourself? There's no reason. There's no benefit. There's nothing. So the start of your real personal or spiritual growth is the ability to see what will work for you and to carry it out within reason. You have to be neurotic and go down to the slightest little thing. That gets messy too. But at least let's get in the ballpark, right? I want this to be easy for you. Why? Because I want you to do it. At a minimum, if you're driving your car, I don't want to tell you exactly how many miles over the speed limit you can go or what kind of car you should drive or whether you should be talking while you're driving, right? But I do want to tell you that if you're driving on the car and the road curves to the right, you should turn your wheel to the right. That's kind of like the minimum basics of what it means to stay on the road. I'm telling you that's what this is. You're driving the car of yourself. You're driving yourself through your life, are you not? Right? There's a road. It's unfolding in front of you. You're driving. You see that this works and this doesn't. Work with yourself. Has nothing to do with anybody else. If you think somebody's going to show up and do it for you, oh, maybe we should talk about that. All right? Nothing is going to do it for you. How do you like that? Money will not do it for you. Relationships will not do it for you. Your looks sure won't do it for you. You'll try. You'll try to make up for the fact that you're not even taking care of yourself in a reasonable way by some sudden action that overcomes something, all right? You're just going to burn yourself out. The same thing. You just burn yourself out. You'll feel totally insecure because you don't know if you're going to keep doing it. You put this fake face out. And, oh my, it's just, I don't want to talk about that. There is no substitute for you own yourself. You don't own anybody else. But you do own yourself. You understand that? And you sure own that which you see. If you don't see something, I can't blame you. You need some work. Come, we'll talk. All right? But the net result is most of you guys have reasonable clarity of what works and what doesn't for you. Now I want to talk about, can you do it? Because that gets tough. Because you better blush. Because there's plenty of times that you don't. There are plenty of times that you say, I'm not doing that anymore. And you go do it. Come on, let's laugh. Let's make it light. There are plenty of times you sit there and say, man, that's the way to do it. That worked. That worked great. I want to do that way, that from now. You don't do it again once. Anybody want to talk about it? It's getting embarrassing. I'm going to get right in there because that's where spirituality is. It's where you live. You think you're in there and nobody can see you. I see you. And you better see you, right? You are in there. You are conscious. And you have the right to drive. But if you don't take that right, what will happen if I don't exercise my will to direct the car of my life in the direction that I see works? It will go in the direction of your habits. Do you understand that? You have habit-formed flows of energy, neural pathways. Call them what you want. Right? In science nowadays, they call them neural pathways. In yoga, they call them your Shakti flow through the nadis, through the billions of nadis. Same thing. All right? Except the yogis talked about 5,000 years ago, that there's these energy flowing through these channels, and it directs your actions. So if you're not paying attention and asserting your will, it will go with the old way. You'll find yourself falling down into the old patterns. That's what they're called habits. Habits will run it. Okay? All right. Should habits run it? No. It's not a true statement. If you have developed a healthy habit, and if you don't have to do anything, and it becomes your habit, mazel tov. Oh, really nice. That's not a bad thing at all. Well, how can you eat like that? I mean, it's all vegan, and there's no this. I just got used to it. I enjoy it. I actually enjoy it. Like I could say, I enjoy Brussels sprouts. I don't. All right, but you learn to get a taste for it, and you learn to enjoy simple things. I remember once somebody said to me, I was in business, out somewhere traveling with somebody, and we went to dinner together. And he said, what wine do you want? And I said, I don't drink wine. And he looked at me like I was crazy. All right? And he said, do you have any idea what you're missing? My God, it's one of the finest things in life, the different wines and all that kind of stuff, right? And I just looked at it, I said, I like my inner state the way it is. I don't need anything. I said it to him, but it didn't interest me at all. If you're okay inside and you're happy and you're filled with love, what do you need to do things like that? What do you need? Things that will change your state. Doesn't mean you can't. That's your business. But I'm trying to show you that when you get into good habits, they're easy. There's nothing to them. They're easy. All right? So the key becomes this time in which there are habits or there are influences that are pulling on your consciousness, on your energy, driving you to act in a way that you know does not work for you. You've already seen it. All right? Nothing wrong with making a mistake once. But you get to the point where, at that point, you have clarity. Now the question is, how do I get myself straightened out so I don't do it that way and I do it in the way that works for me? And let me just summarize. If every minute of your life you are conscious and you are aware of what's going on, not picking or struggling, just aware, and if you see clearly this way works and that way doesn't, right? If you always do your best to work with the way that works, you will grow so fast. I don't care how many hours you meditate. I don't care what mantras you do. I don't care what you believe in. You will grow so fast if you do that. Do you understand that? It is the highest thing you can do. It will get rid of everything. Now, you'll have to meditate to stay conscious enough to do that. All right? You'll have to work with yourself to develop the will. But let's get that straight. That's what I want to talk about tonight. Mark my words. If every moment you are centered enough to see what's going on inside of you, what forces and drives and needs and desires or fears or whatever junk's going on in there, you understand that? Discomfort. If you're clear enough to see, I've been through this before, it works better to take a breath, or it works better to do this, whatever it is, and you actually apply your will to do that, the best that you can see, there's no more to talk about. It will take you the entire way. You will grow every day of your life. You will be a different person than you were the time before. All right, first, do you see why that will work? That's why it says each man is within himself his own path. I think it was St. Paul said that in Corinthians or something. Somebody told me that. Never found it myself, but somebody said he said that. All right? Each man is within himself his own path. Do you see it? Right? That's why. Because you're different. Your patterns are different. What is best for you may be worse for him. But you come to the clarity within yourself where you're at least willing to look. Because the worst thing you can do, and you do it, is not look. I don't want to look. It's too painful. It's too difficult to look, because if I look and I see that this is the way that works, but I don't have the commitment to do it, then I feel guilty. Then I feel bad. I just do not look. And you do what I used to teach this in the 70s. I do what I call turn away. You actually turn your consciousness away from the dirty spot so that you don't have to deal with it. Ever done it? See what that feels like? To just turn away. Just for a minute, just turn away. Then the habit will just happen, and later you'll come back and feel guilty or messed up or something like that, right? I am trying to help you create a life not like that. I would like you to have a life where it's beautiful in there. It's beautiful. It's nice in there. It's sunny. It's a wonderful place to live. It's happy all the time. It's filled with joy. There is a place like that in there. But how can you find that if you're creating mess for yourself? And that's what we're doing, isn't it? We create mess for ourselves. So you start with little things. You got to do with everything. You start with the things that are, I always tell you, low-hanging fruit. You start with the obvious things, some diet stuff, some this, some that. We're going to get to more complicated stuff in a minute. You know, your basic living external interaction. Just look at those interactions and decide what works for you. And it can change later, right? It's not a lifetime commitment, but you start with, all right, I see best that I'm not doing well with this. You know, the potato chips, I eat the whole bag at once every time I open them up. It doesn't work out well, all right? And so that's why I stop potato chips. You start noticing where your strengths and weaknesses are, and you actually apply the will, this little stuff, to change, to do it the way that works. At first, it's difficult. There's two reasons it's difficult. One, because a habit-formed flow of energy has its own power. It wants to flow that way. Water wants to flow into the direction of the lowest resistance. Well, how do we say that? Electricity flows in the path of least resistance. Guess what the path of least resistance is through you? You stay out of my way and don't touch it, and I'll go where I'm used to going. That's called a habit, right? Don't mess with me. That's what your habit says to you. Don't mess with me. Go away. It won't let you come back after this talk. Don't listen to him. I have my way that I like to do, and that's that. Nicotine makes me feel better, and what's the difference? I'm going to die. That's what I talk. I'm going to die anyways. What's the difference? When? And I'd rather die feeling good than not. It's perfectly reasonable, right? That's your habit, having manipulated your mind. It all sounds good till you start getting sick. And then, oh my God, what do I do? All right? And so you just start noticing it's there. And I'm telling you, there's going to be resistance. There has to be resistance. If your will, your conscious will, so we're talking about, right? You in there, your conscious will stands against these habit-formed flows, it's going to be a little bit of a battle. It can never not be. Never. Why? Because you're changing the neural pathways. You're using your will to change the direction of these flows. I like, for example, AA. So here you have someone who has a very, very bad addiction. So how do you break that? Listen to them. Look at their 12-fold path. It basically teaches everything I'm teaching you, which is stay conscious and make decisions that are not in the favor of your habits. Don't go to bars. Don't hang out with friends you used to drink with. Don't do this. Don't have any alcohol in the. Well, what's wrong with a little social drink? A lot. You see what I'm saying? But it's just a social thing. It doesn't matter. You're reinforcing the habit. If you reinforce the habit, the power of that pathway is thousands and thousands of times stronger than what you're capable of changing today. So if you literally, they will teach you, if you didn't drink for a year, and that was really hard, and then you drank once, you offset the year. Yogananda used to teach it takes 7 years to break a habit. Guess what the AA says? Lifetime. Don't go near it. Don't touch it. Don't have it in the house. Don't do anything. That's your only safety net. Don't they teach that? Okay? All right. I'm not going to that extreme. That's an extreme. But you have to understand, we all are addicted to our habits. They're not all as bad as alcohol, as being an alcoholic, right? But we have these habits that are not healthy, that take away our joy. How's that? I want to talk about a habit that takes away, not destroys your life, it takes away your joy. Alcohol destroys your life. Heroin destroys your life. But you got habits that take away your joy, don't you? And you can see in a minute how many you got. All right? So I was talking about these things outside, the way you interact with the outside world. So how do you break a habit? How do you recreate a new habit? How do you do this? There's only one way to do it. Or seriously, there's only one way to do it. You use will. Will is yours. What do you mean? You in there. Hi. You in there? You hear me? You have a power. You can initiate any action you want. You're the boss. You don't act like it, but you are the boss in there. Are you not? There's no one else in there. Now you could say your mind or your body have a mind or a power of their own. They only have it because you let them have it, and the flow of the Shakti, the flow of the energy got patterned that way, and now you're going to be drawn that way. It's just amazing. Like maybe you have a habit. I used to have a habit when I was in college. I remember studying in a freshman dorm that when I'd studied, I'd shake my leg. You know, my foot would be on the ground and it'd go up and down like that. I made myself break it. What do I want to do that for? I just kind of wore everything out, right? And so you just get into the realization that yes, there are habits and some of them are fine. You have to mess with them. But if something is taking away your joy, and a lot of things give you momentary joy and then take away the rest of your joy. Do you understand that? If they're taking away your long-term, I want you to have long-term joy. All right? So let's say you can't afford the car, but you want it. I've always wanted a Corvette. Well, I don't have the money. All right? Well, kind of lie a little bit on the loan form and take on a loan that you can't possibly pay, and then get that car and go drive around and go show everybody and do all this stuff. That's a moment rush. I don't think it's going to last. What do you think? Okay, you got to pay the thing. It gets taken away. You're embarrassed. They find that you defrauded the bank. You go to jail. So there's all kinds of things that momentarily give a rush, but they don't last, right? So you have to decide. I'm not deciding for you. You decide what I want to do. Because you do enough of those things, your life's over. Come on, I did 30 years of prison work in maximum security prisons, right? With men that were in there for a lot. It just happens slowly. They started, this is called falling. They started this way, then they went that way, then they had to pay the loan, but then they had to rob the liquor store, but then they had to do this, and it had to be, like, it all just goes out of control. Do you understand that? All right? I'm not just talking about this really bad stuff. Even, I'm talking about your joy. I want you to have joy all the time. I want you to wake up in the morning and be enthused. I want you to be excited about going to work or going to school. I want you to just enjoy your life. Why would I not want you? I like you. All right? And I know you can. I want you to just enjoy your life. It's as simple as that. If you have a date, you're going out with somebody, I want you to enjoy. It doesn't matter if it's long term, whatever it is. You're just basically enjoying yourself. If you don't and you're staying home, I want you to enjoy staying home exactly equal to what you would enjoy going out. I want you to literally feel, oh boy, I can stay home tonight and read or be by myself or meditate or do whatever I do, right? You are capable of that. But you have to work with yourself. You have to raise yourself in order to get yourself to a state like that. Because your habits are not like that. They will pull you down into them. So it is your will that is the only gift you have that can lift you out of the patterns that you currently have. It is absolutely true that so far in your life, nobody talked to you like this. And you didn't do it. You just did path of least resistance. Whatever was the easiest thing to do, whatever gave a moment's rush, right? That was where we tended to go. And then we developed the habits. So at some point you wake up and you realize, no, I want it to be nice inside. I can make it. I want it to be beautiful in here. So what I need to do is start with the things that are not working, don't do them. Things that are working, do them. And I'll do that by doing this thing called working with myself. I'm working with myself. Now, I'm telling you, when you start doing that, make it a game. I didn't. In my beginning, I made it a battle, all right? I didn't work. You cannot fight. If the right hand's at war with the left one, they both have knives, you lose. Right or wrong. Neither hand's going to win because you're in a lose-lose situation, right? If you're in there fighting with yourself, you lose. I want you to make it. And you ever play video games? Some kids are into video games, right? Or crossword puzzles or little things, right? Make it a game. It's a video game. Can I raise myself? There's monsters in there. They're going to try and eat me. When I get to another level, they'll try to bring me down. You just literally make it a game. So you face a certain habit that's not healthy, and you look at it, and you say, hi, look at you. You screwed me up good. Look at the mess you made before. You ain't doing it again. But you start. How do you do it? First, you decide. You have to decide. Buddhists call it your intention. Your intention is, I'm not going to let this habit pull me into it and just unconsciously go through the path of least resistance. All right, very good. You may not know how to do that yet, but at least your intention is right. And I'm making it easy for you because I'm saying my intention is to be high. My intention is to be happy all the time. My intention is to feel, well, that's good. You're not going to do it if you're doing stuff that brings you down. All right? So that's a good way to look at it. I told you, I'm trying to get you out of this discipline means right and wrong and, military tough stuff. No, I don't look at it that way, right? Just look at it as, if I want to go somewhere, I have to go there. I can't just let myself keep walking the way in the opposite direction. I have to turn around. I have to do some work on myself. How about business people? People invest in themselves. You invest in your business. You invest in your knowledge. You invest in your degree. You invest in things. This is the highest investment you ever make. There is no greater investment you will ever make than the investment in yourself. Because in the end, you'll be better at everything you do. You'll be better at relationships. Of course you are. You're a higher person. You're clearer. You're happy. Of course you're better at relationships. Of course you'll be better at business. You're not doing weird things. Right? People in business do weird things too. They get angry. I'm angry. I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with that person. Well, you just threw your best customer away because you're in a bad mood. That'll work out good. So if you're clear and you're up and you're there, you're better at everything you do. So your beginning position has to be this. Look how hard people work on relationships. God, what they do to each other. And then they go to counselors and, oh my God, it's very difficult, right? And if you ask them, they say, a relationship is not something that just happens. You have to work on it, right? Well, what about your relationship with yourself? That's the most important relationship you'll ever have, isn't it? If you don't get along with yourself, how are you going to get along with anybody else? Not going to happen. You have work to do inside yourself. And notice I'm not saying meditate. I will later because it helps, all right? But I don't want you to meditate because you think that's what you're supposed to be doing. I want you to take on the ownership of yourself and then see what will help you do that. Now you're in charge. So basically, we're talking about working on yourself. It doesn't matter where you are to start with. It doesn't matter how fast you go. It just matters that every moment to the best of your ability, you raise yourself. If you, every moment to the best of your ability, you raise yourself, you're going to raise yourself. And every time you don't, you let yourself fall. So what it becomes is, how do I develop the intention? We already talked about the intention. Now I have the intention. I'm telling you, there's a warning sign. The energies of bad habits path of least resistance are going to pull you in their direction. They're like a horse. They're going to pull you in their direction. Do you understand that? Okay? And they can be very strong. All right? Now let's talk about what I never talked to you about. Let's say I want to do it. How do I do it? 1, your intention is the most important thing. If you're wishy-washy, I think I would like to stop drinking, but not right now. Okay? You don't stand a chance. Do you understand that? If you're not solidly firm in your commitment that I'm going to change these energies and raise them up, it's not going to happen. Right? Because the moment it gets tough, you say, oh, I'll do it next time. You know about that, don't you? All right? So you start off with, that's where meditation helps. You take some time aside every morning and every evening. 15 minutes is fine. You take it aside and you remember what you're about. You hear me? I'm about going up. So that's what you're about. I'm about clarity and commitment. Clarity inside myself and commitment to what I see. God, that's all it takes. Now you come out here. So first is the intent. Reinforce your intent. Use affirmation, whatever you want to do, use clarity. Now I have the intent. What do? I have found, I guess I tried many different ways, that the most important thing is to catch it early. All right? So I see, let's say I don't want to drink too much coffee. All right, I don't drink coffee, but let's say I was. All right, drinking too much coffee. How do I know? By 10:30 in the morning, I'm kind of wired. There are ways to tell, it's amazing. So you look at it and you decide, I want to cut back on the coffee, all right? So next thing you know, you're driving somewhere and you smell the smell of some fresh roasted coffee, all right? And immediately you feel the urge. You feel an urge. We call it the word urge. It is the habit starting to pull the energy and be activated. That's what it is. That activation of the flow to go in that direction is an urge for you to let it. Can you see how that works? All right? I'm telling you, it's neurological, it's psychological, and it's spiritual. The energy is used to flowing in that direction. It became stimulated because the memories kicked it up, and boom, it wants to go there. This is spirituality. You're right now where the tires hit the road. All right. The moment it starts, the fact that you made your commitment means there's no question what we're doing here. We already committed. We're not going to drink that this time. We're not going to drink this early, right? We're going to skip the first few cups. Whatever it is you decided, that's your business. So now there's no wavering in my commitment. Good, because otherwise you lose. I already said that. So now the moment it starts, it's not, well, I know I'm not going to have it, but boy, let me just smell a little bit, all right? Even if I just park in the parking lot, of Starbucks, all right? But I'll just sit there, right? Because my friends around there, like, no, not it's wrong. It doesn't work. See how I taught you that? I don't want you feeling guilt, right? It's just, if you want to succeed, you have to do the things that lead to success. So it's like you start with, and I'm teaching you deep things, right? It is always easier to let it go before it starts. It will never be easier later. If you think, well, let me just put the cigarette in my mouth, I won't light it. Okay? No, you're wrong. It does not make it easier. What happens is you don't have the cigarette out of the pack yet, and you're saying no. And then it says, because it feels the urge, it says, I'll just put it in my mouth and I won't light it. I swear I won't light it. That's where the line will be. The very fact that you let the energy go to that next level, it has more power. It will pull harder, not less. It's not true that it will be easier. It is not ever easier to do that. All right? The easiest way, if you want to be nice to yourself, is the moment it starts, you make your commitment. And you do what I call change the direction of the energy. So what has happened is, I'm committed. I'm fully committed. I'm not going to get that cup of coffee. I'm not going to smoke the cigarette. All right? The energy is absolutely pulling that way. The very fact that it's pulling that way is a red flag. It's danger zone. Wake up. Wake up. If you were snoozing, wake up. It's time to open your eyes, put both hands on the wheel, and pay attention. right? Somebody just ran a red light. Hello. Right? You be there. Be present. When that energy starts pulling you, be present. Then what do? One, immediately, I'm telling you, you know what that energy is. Don't kid yourself. Well, I'm not sure it's coffee need. It might not be. Don't play around. Don't play games with yourself. You sit there and you commit yourself. This is what I decided, and I'm going to do it. What I'm pointing out to is the earlier the better. The moment it starts, deal with it. How do you deal with it? In the end, it's very yogic, and we'll just have to talk about it a little bit. You change the direction of the energy, you bring it up. The energy is trying to flow down. It's always flowing down through the carved pathways. Whether you call them nadis or neural pathways, that's yogic, ancient yogic, or modern neurology, neuroscience, I don't care. All right? Basically, it flows down. It flows down through your mind. It makes your mind then start thinking about it. It flows down in your heart thing, and because your body wants to do it, it flows down, and it overcomes you, doesn't it? No, it's so cute. All right? You catch it early, and you change the direction. How? Well, that actually is what something yoga and pranayama is teaching you. Right? Breathe. What do you mean? Breathe. Breathe it up. Literally. Catch the energy that you would have gone down with and go... Your will is more powerful than any energy flow inside of you. Now look me in the eyes. I know you don't know that. Your will is divine. It's supreme. All right? You don't exercise it, so you don't know that. All right? You've let it go. But ultimately, your will is stronger and more powerful than any drive, any instinct, any habit, anything that is going on inside of you. If you decide that I want this energy going up instead of down, at first you won't be able to do it, but at least you won't have gone with it. You understand that? When you get to a certain point, right, all you have to do is one breath, and that which started feeling like upsetness or anger or guilt or insecurity or a need becomes Shakti. It just changes direction, and becomes a rush inside of you every single time. That's why I want you. You understand that? You are in charge in there. That is your house. It should be the way you want. But you never learned how to do these things. Which class did you take in all your years of school that taught you this stuff? None. Right? The most important thing that you could ever be taught. How to deal with yourself. How to work with yourself. How to raise yourself. I told you once, the Gita says, talk about self in Hindi, in Sanskrit, it's Atman. Atman, A-T-M-A-N, Atman, right? When they're talking about higher self, which I'm talking to you about, you in there, they capitalize it, the Atman. When talking about lower self, your lower drives, your lower things, they have lowercase. And the Gita says, one should raise the self with self. One should raise the lower self with higher self, not trample down the self. So in other words, work with yourself. Constantly work with yourself. So I talked about breathing. Another Yogananda. See how it became spiritual? A moment ago I was talking about all this terrible subject of discipline and so on. And now we're talking about pranayama. We're talking about spiritual things, right? Yogananda, he used to teach Kriya Yoga, which was a very advanced form of pranayama. And he said that was the beginning and end and guaranteed liberation, et cetera, et cetera. And they taught that stuff. And somebody once asked him, when he was over here in the early 30s, with a turban on his head, they asked him, Master Yogananda, is there another technique other than Kriya Yoga? Because he wouldn't give Kriya, you have to do it for a year, practice, et cetera, et cetera. Is there another technique other than Kriya Yoga that is guaranteed enlightenment, self-realization, freedom, liberation at the highest level in this lifetime, aside from Kriya Yoga? And he shocked his disciples. He said yes. And they said, what is that? Take your attention and put it the point between your eyebrows and never take it off. Why? Why would that be right? Because when your energy goes down, it brings everything with it. When it starts flowing down, your consciousness, all of your energy goes down. That's why you lose yourself. Can you lose yourself in anger? Can you become overwhelmed with anger? That's the word we use. Who got overwhelmed? You did. He lost himself. Can you lose yourself? Right? You see what I'm saying? We use the right words. I was there, and then she said something I couldn't handle, and I went berserk. You lost it. That's the word we use, right? He lost it completely. Oh, I love it. Talk to me. What does that mean? He lost it completely. You know what it means, don't you? That energy swept him or her out of the seat of consciousness, and they were behaving like a maniac. You couldn't talk to them. You couldn't do anything. They were just like a weird person. And then they came back. Oh, did I break that? I'm so sorry. You see what I'm talking about? All right. If you keep your energy up at a high level, that's what you were doing when you breathed it up. You're trying to bring it back up. What Yogananda was saying is, if you put your energy, which is your consciousness and energy move together, if you put your awareness at the sixth chakra, at the seat, he called it the seat of Christ consciousness, the seat of consciousness, if you put your attention there, the energy will focus there, and when it tries to go down to participate in these downward flows, it won't, it can't. Because he said, if you put your energy there, if you put your consciousness there and not take it off, never take it off. And for you to get pulled down into the lower energies, it would have to take you away from that seat of consciousness. I'm not saying you can do it now, but I'm teaching you deep stuff. Do you understand that? Right? That's why what he said is true. If you can keep your consciousness centered at a high level, keep focusing on it, breathing there, meditating on it, then what will happen? All of a sudden anger will start to come up in you, or the urge to drink the coffee or to smoke the cigarette will start, and you're going to actually feel it. It tries to pull from there. And you decide not to let it. You just put a little more effort, and it goes away. It just falls away. And it doesn't just fall away. That energy where it wanted to go comes up to that point, because you are stronger than the pull of energy, any energy inside of you. Now, it's very advanced. It can take you a while to get there, right? But at least you understand what yoga is teaching you, what these deep teachers are teaching you. You are supreme. Your power is greater than any power, any drive, or any habit, or anything that's going on inside of you, right? If you sit there and say, I'm not going to drink again, they can tell you till they're blue in the face that you won't be able to, and I'm telling you, if you mean it, it's over, right then, all right? But you have to really mean it. In other words, I'm in charge in here. Now, I mean out there, but I'm in charge in here, and if I say what I'm going to do, then that's what's happening, right? If you say something, it's going to happen. Period. Does everybody understand what I'm telling you? You are the boss in there. The only reason it doesn't feel like that is because you have not exercised your will. You have not tried to regain your kingdom. All right. So far, I've talked about the easy part. I've talked about your physical habit of doing physical things, eating and smoking and these sort of things, right? And you've decided now, and by the way, until you work with those, you won't be able to do the higher things. If you can't stop yourself from smoking, or you can't stop yourself from eating foods that you know aren't good for you, you're not going to be able to work with your mind. Try all you want. It ain't going to happen. Why? Because the mind and the heart are subtler than the body. So once you learn, I'm not talking about some austere discipline. It has nothing to do with renunciation, has nothing to do with that type of discipline. It has to do with you being centered within yourself and deciding, this is my life, and I'm going to live it the way I want to. There you go, right? You want to say that all the time, don't you? Right? Except what's saying that inside of you now are your habits. I want to smoke if I want to. Well, you don't really want to. You just don't know how not to. I don't call that doing what you want. I call it have the inability to do what you want. You understand that? What you want is something higher, but these drives and these forces you haven't exercised your will to redirect them. All right. So it's not about renunciation. It's not about some sort of austerity or something like that. It's about you're in there, you decide what you want, take it, get it. But you better start with yourself. All right? It's not about getting some outside to match your habits. So now you work with your body. You've worked with this. You worked with yourself within reason. Don't get neurotic. But you work with yourself within reason to raise the energies and bring the energies up. If you're into God and devotion, you could give all the flowers and nice words and Lord's prayers you want to God. What he wants is this, right? He wants what keeps you from him, all right? So you take these habit flows and you literally take them, don't be afraid of them, and offer them up. You're doing the same thing as breathing it up. You're just moving the energy up instead of letting it go down. That's what a yogi does, brings the energy up. Make sense? If you want to go up, bring the energy up, right? That's what it boils down to. So whatever method you want to use, that's why each person has their own path. Some people are devotional. Some people are scientific. Some people are rational, analytical. Who cares, right? It all says the same thing. Bring the energy up. So if you bring it up, it strengthens you because that's where you are. You're the highest thing in there. If you bring the energy up, it's called transmutation of energy. It transmutes the energy up. So even anger can end up being strength for you if you don't give into it. If instead of going out and making a big mess, you take that power when it starts and you bring it up, you now became greater than anger. You have the ability of channeling any energy you want. You just have to want to do it. When you channel it up, you become stronger. What does that mean? It means it becomes easier to do other things. Then at some point, this is really what I want to talk about, but I had to get the foundation. You will notice, okay, I got my diet reasonably together. I'm not smoking or anything, blah, 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 all right? But it's still not so nice in here. It's okay. It's better than it was. That's for sure, right? But if I get thrown around drowning, right? But I wouldn't exactly say it's highsy-tighsy in here, all right? And you start noticing why. Just like you noticed why out here, you'll notice why in there. My thoughts are not exactly very uplifting. they're not nice. There are lots of thoughts going on in there that bring me down. How about you? They say bad things to me about myself and about everybody else. All right? When I think about my past, it says all the things I didn't like, and it tells me they shouldn't have happened. It wasn't fair, and what I did wrong. And oh my God, nobody could ever like. Ooh, aren't those nice thoughts? How are you going to get high when you got that going on inside of you? The answer is not a chance in the world. And when I think about the future, it says you're going to fail. You know you're going to fail. You always fail. It'll go wrong. You never get your break. Everybody else gets breaks. Whoa, thanks a lot. It's like you can't let thoughts like that go on inside of you. Do you understand that? They are poison. Your thoughts are destroying you. They're not helping you. If you go to give a talk in public, at school or in public, and your thoughts before the talk is, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I've never been good at this. I'll never be good at this. Oh my God, it's going to be terrible. I'll embarrass myself. I don't even want to do it. I should call. No, I can't do it. What kind of a way is that to prepare yourself? What if you hired a public speaking coach and that's how they talk to you? Oh, you're going to do terrible. Oh, you're going to blow this. Right. That's how your mind is talking to you. Oh, she'll never like me. Nobody. She'll say she is, but she doesn't. She doesn't. Nobody could really like me. Why would they? I don't even like me. Oh, what a wonderful foundation for a good relationship. I'm telling you, you can't have that going on inside of you and reach the states I want you in and the state that you want. You started by saying, I want to be happy. Those are not happy thoughts. Those are terrible thoughts. And now all of a sudden you realize I'm bringing myself down. My thoughts are negative. My thoughts are bringing me down. Now that I've used my will enough to develop a reasonable interaction with the outside world, I better use that strength and will to develop a reasonable relationship with my mind because it's broken. And I'm telling you, your thoughts are just as habitual as your physical habits, probably more so. You understand that? You ever get a song caught in your head? Right? You hear a song and it won't stop? Doesn't take long to develop habits inside your head, does it? Ever do something that embarrassed you and have it keep going on and reminding you over and over again for the next 3 months, years? It doesn't take much to develop the patterns within the mind, does it? Well, then maybe we best be paying attention. Maybe if something happens and it's embarrassing, we better neutralize it. Just like we learn to bring our energy up outside. As I said, you practice these things. Now something happens, it's embarrassing, and you know he or she's going to make a big deal out of the thing for the next 4 days. Well, why do I want to do that? Maybe there's something you can do to help bring the energy up. Maybe you sit there and say, whoa, that was embarrassing. Or maybe you sit there and say, what I do, I'm sitting on a little planet. Go out there, stand up in a little tiny piece of dirt, spit on a little empty black space, and yell out, whoa, is that embarrassing? And it sounds so stupid, nobody's even there. I mean, give me a break. You're sitting on a tiny little planet, spit on the middle of nowhere, you can't handle what you said. Work with yourself. It doesn't mean it's going to go away right away, but it will be less. Do you understand that? If you will work with that energy and bring that up, instead of getting into it and feeding it and making some big deal out of nothing, learn to make it nice. Don't say the weather has to be nice for me to be okay. Say I have to be okay with the weather for me to be okay. Why don't you just learn to enjoy the humidity? Change yourself. It's easier. Do you understand that? Okay? Change yourself. Enjoy what you're doing. So you start working with yourself inside. Oh, boy. Now that you gain the right, you're powerful enough, you start watching your thoughts. The chant we sing every morning says, keep watch on the thoughts of your mind faithfully. Right? Doesn't mean I'm there like a hawk. Right? It just means, why would you not be aware of your thoughts? You are aware of your thoughts, and you wouldn't know what they were. You're just not being aware that you're aware. So all of a sudden you notice your thoughts are getting negative. Wait till you see how much they do that. It doesn't take much. You understand that? If somebody doesn't say hello, you're negative for the rest of the day. What I do wrong, man? All right? It's negative. You need to raise it so it's not that way. Nobody else is going to do it for you. So you start working with your thoughts. You replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Breathe them up. Same techniques you use down here, you use in there. You watch your thoughts. You can be minding your own business, driving your car on a trip, and all of a sudden you think of something that happened 20 years ago. Not you guys, you're too young. But anyways, think of something that happened 10 years ago, right? And it can bring you down, can't it? Next thing you know, you're thinking about it, ruminating on it, constantly, blah, blah, and by the time you get to the place you're going, you're depressed. You did that to yourself. What are you doing? They're your thoughts. That's like, what do you want to bother yourself with your thoughts? Bad enough somebody else's thoughts bother you. What do I want your thoughts to bother you? I want your thoughts to bring you up every single time, right? And eventually they'll become habitual. You'll learn it's positive thinking, but it will be naturally positive. And eventually it'll be quieter. You don't have to do that. And eventually you do that with your heart. Same thing with your heart. Well, what if my heart closes? Work with it. No, I'm going to work with her. No, work with your heart. Nothing you do with her is going to fix your heart. Oh, she apologizes. It'll make me feel better. Yeah, until the next time she does it or until somebody else does it. Do you understand that? You work with your heart. Bring it up. You're actually bringing the energy up. Everything's blocked energies. That's any disturbance you have inside you is blocked energies. When the energies are not blocked, you couldn't hold yourself down. You're just giggling all the time. All right? All right. So I told you, this is the basics of spirituality. You need to raise yourself. It's a beautiful thing. Isn't it fun? Right? And it doesn't take any time. You do it every minute. That's all. Whatever you're doing, you're there. Wherever you are, there you are. Right? Might as well do your work. It's your work. Nobody can do it for you. You can get help, right? There's lots of help, but it's your foundation. All right? Will you work on these things? Play with it. Make it fun. Jagrative.